Good morning, students and listeners. Welcome back to the lecture of Introduction to Python. In previous lecture, we have discussed regarding the characteristic of Python, history of Python, why are we using Python, analog IDE, Python and modules, and the practical session. In lecture 2, we will discuss about data types. Before going further in this lecture, let me make you a clear comfortable that we are going to use IPython prompt for feeding code and observing the output. You can also use Anaconda IDE, Spider IDE, or Google Colab to avoid need of installation of required packages. We suggest that you write detailed descriptive comments wherever needed to enhance understanding of workflow of given code. Here I am not providing any comments along with the code, as I would be explaining it line to line. In this chapter, we will discuss the various kind of data in Python and their categorization into several data types. Modern computers distribute data in several types. Means data can be numbers, it could be characters, strings, a group of characters, and so on. In Python, you can define new data types as and when required. There are some inbuilt-in data types for handling numbers and characters. Different data types occupy different amount of memory. It is important to understand your needs and choose a data type accordingly. Data type also determines the accuracy of the answer. We will discuss the various built-in data types in Python in the following slides. So, today we are going to discuss logical data type, numerical data type, sequences, mapping, and null objects. So let's move to the first section of today's lecture is logical data type. So this type of data stores Boolean values in true or false form and can be operated in Boolean operators by Boolean operators such as and or. Most programming languages uses the values of 1 and 0. For example, in your microcontroller programming, in C language programming, you have already used these features, but Python differs in this approach, and we can explore this one by one. As you can see, there are four type of operators: and, or, XOR, and NOT. The Python functions related to each is provided as in this table. If you can see here, the symbolic functions related for each and every Python function is also has been provided in this table. The logical truth table, as you know, for OR, AND, XOR, and NOT has been provided. We will evaluate some of the examples on IPython platform. We will also evaluate complex logical statements and comparison of operators also. So let's evaluate this and let's start for coding session. So in Python, as I have suggested regarding true, if I write true, it will give me output of true. For false, it will be false. When I'm using not operator, it will be false. And when I'm using and operator, it will give me an output of false. The same case occurs with true and false. If I use OR operator, the same case will occur. True. If I use the symbol function, there is some syntax error. Let me check it again, because I have used the space command. Okay, since Python is case sensitive, we have to avoid using space. Similarly, if I can also use a symbolic function of and it will give me an output. So these are the simple functions that I have shown you. Now let us switch over to the complex logical statements. Let me clear the editor first. Now for complex statements, I mean, for example, it is true, and then I will write and again true, and then I will write or and give it for example this type of statement. This is a type of complex statement. Let's see what is the output. It will be true. The same thing occurs if I use one or and one and function. It will also give me an output. For example, if I write this type of complex statement, true or true will be true and false will be false. So true or false will be true. It's nothing but 1 and 0 combination. But in Python, instead of 1 and 0, it is using true or false. I hope you are getting this. So it is important to see the usage of parenthesis enables the user to club together the logical expression in the meaningful way. By logical operations, for example of comparison operators, I want to compare 2 or 3 operators. Not 2 or 3 means I want to compare two numbers, whether I am right or wrong. For 2 is greater than 3. If it is true, no, it is not true, because 3 is greater than 2. For example, if I am going to use some equality operator, whether I am true or not, it will give me an output in Boolean language that it is true. The same type occurs for decimal and float. Python by default is an intelligent language. It will by default take this and it is true. So for example, if instead of 2 equal to 2, if I write true equal to 3, it will be made complex output. So now let's say complex expression, if it is evaluated or not. Suppose this is a type of complex expression, and we will try to evaluate it logically. Say 2 plus 3, that is 5, should be greater than -1. So it is true. So in this way, Python is going to this way you are going to use the data type and logical operator. Now let's move forward to our next session, the next slide. Numeric data type. So there are mainly 4. There is a mistake here. There are mainly 3 type of numeric data type. int, that stands for integer. Float, float, that is for floating point number. And the third one is complex, stands for complex number. The integer data type is in Python, as you can see here, as we can say that there are mainly 3 type of data type: float, long, and complex number. As a result, the limit of the length of the numbers is subject to the availability of memory. The positive side of this architecture is that the user are not limited to the range of number, but they must always ensure that sufficient memory is available during the calculation to avoid erroneous results. So this is a part of integer type of data type, the positive side of integer type of data type, that the memory location is limited to the range of numbers. I mean to say, it's not limited to the range of numbers. In Python, to limit of size of integer to bytes to the same size as in I'll change the slide by mistake, as in the C program language, whereas in Python 3 has merged integer and long as int. So if you are using Python 2 as a programming language, it has long and integer as separate data type, but in Python 3 integer and long has been merged, so only int has been there, which is also used for long data type too. If you are using a 32-bit system, Python 3 will store int as a 32-bit, and if you are using a 64-bit computer, it stores as int as a 64-bit. So the built-in data type function type is used for data type. We can also check it here. For example, in my code, I am going to write in Python what is the you have, and I check the type of the command or object. First we will clear the sign. Now, as I have suggested, type is used for knowing the data type of data. So I want to know what is -1. By default it will give me a integer class. If in the similar way, if I remove the negative sign, the integer is means signature is not an issue in integer type, so it will show me this. As seen in this example, the Python interpreter allocates data type dynamically. In other words, what I want to say is it allocates data type to the input based on its definition. This is quite convenient for a programmer. See, 1 automatically becomes an integer, but when I use 1.0, it will by default become a float. I don't need to define float separately as in all different languages in C, like that you have done. Okay. The second data type, let me move to the slide again. The second data type is float type data type. In computing, floating point notation is a scheme of representing an approximation of mathematical real number. A real number is usually written with a decimal point. So for example, 2 is an integer, whereas 2.0 is a real number. The two numbers are quite different to a computer, while we can say 2 which will be stored as integer type, but 2.0 will be stored as float type. This example I have already shown you in the IPython platform too. Now, the mapping of a real number of a computer storage system is a formulaic representation, which is also called the floating point representation. The floating point representation is real numbers which are expressed in three parts: significand, base, and exponent. So for example, if the value of pi, which is 3.14159 and so on, if we consider that only 4 significant digits for a particular calculation, its value will be written as 3.1415. Now, this number is represented as 31415 into 10 raised to -4. Here 31415 is called significand, 10 is base, and -4 is exponent. While assigning a number to significand, the information about the number of significant digit is used. The significant figures of a number are digits that carry the meaning contributing to its measurement resolution. It should be noted that it contributes to measurement resolution. In this case, we assume only 4 significant digits, depending on the requirement. For this particular example of pi, the term floating point, which resembles to the fact that a number's radix point, decimal point, can float. That is, it can be placed anywhere relative to the significant digit of the number. This position is indicated as exponent component. Thus, floating point representation can be thought as a kind of scientific notation, which we are using many times. So as I have already mentioned you, that there are mainly 3 categories of floating point, 3 main parts of a floating point number: significant, base, and exponent. One of the part which is left is called sign. A sign is one of the important part which also plays an important role in memory allocation. Now, as you know that each part of floating point number is stored at different memory locations and occupies a specific number of bits. But how many bits are defined to which part? This question will be answered by the IEEE standard. IEEE standard which Python follows is IEEE 754. So before going further, we have to look to the concept of precision of number representation. So here you can see the number representation has been divided into 4 types of precision: single precision, which occupied 4 bytes of memory; double precision, occupying 8 bytes of memory; extended double precision, which occupies 80 bits of memory. See, it is not neither 8 means greater than 8, but it is not between the selection, means 8 and 16. It occupies 80 bits. The quadruple precision, which occupies 128 bits. This scheme can trade off between range and precision. So why I have mentioned range and precision, a trade-off between range and precision. See, while you are working with integer and when you are working with floating point, the two scenario changes for memory allocation. While integers have unlimited precision, floating point numbers are usually implemented using double precision. By default, they are double precise. The information about precision and internal representation of floating point number for the machine on which you are programming or your program has been run is available using the command sys.float float underscore info info. As you can see here, sys.float underscore info. Let me write this command on our Python platform. As we do every time, first we will clear this command window, parameters window. Now, the function which I am talking about, for implementing this function, we have to first import system module. After importing system module, you have to write sys dot float underscore info. This will give you a float info of the system. So using this float info function of sys, you can get this info. Sorry for the spelling mistake, it is info. Enter. So here you can see the system float info. The maximum number which can be expected by this system is 1.79 into 10 raised to 308, and maximum exponential is 1024. So this information changes by system. Maximum 15 digits, minimum digit 59, epsilon is 2.6 something. In the similar manner, when I have used float info, I can go for integer info. Instead of float, if I write int, it will give me an information regarding integer. So I have to change this also. It is not required actually, because it is comment. This particular sign, make sure it is used for commenting a line, so it is not a part of a command. So when you write system integer info sys.int underscore info, it will give you an output that total 30 digits of a size of 4, size of digit will be 4. 30 bits per digit will be allocated. So for a 32-bit Windows OS system, the integer info will be bits per digit will be 15 and the size of bit will be 2, while whenever going to use this system integer info command, this particular line, so whenever this command has been issued by Python, it will give me an output regarding to this number. So the issue is with floating point number based arithmetic is that answer is an approximation of a real number, since the real number are defined with 10 as their base, whereas computer works with 2 as a base. So there is always a trade-off between this number system. You are quite aware of converging a number system of base 2 to decimal that can be used. So to employ even more precise amount, you can say, for example, if you are using conversion function means you are writing a command, writing a number of 0.123 means 0.123. It will be shown as 0.123 in decimal format, but actually in the number system it has been converted to base value. This is a limited use of approximated values has been used instead of real number. That I want to say, since maximum number is allocation is up to 1. Means maximum is up to 10 raised to 308 command. So to employ even more precision, we are using decimal module, which has been used by the Python system, which returns the number as it's stored by the computer. So if you are you have to see that how this works. Let us show you. First of all, let us clear this command window. For example, now I have to use decimal function. So from decimal I have to import decimal function. This decimal function has been used to return number number in stored format. So now I can directly use decimal, and I have to write 0.123. For example, this is my command. The output will be up to what we have seen to the maximum value, and you can see up to 14 digit or 15 digit or more output number can be shown. This is an approximation. It is not going to show you 1 2 3. 3 is our end number, but it is showing you an approximation. That is what I want to explain you by saying that it gives an approximate output. The same case is if you are going for 1.2345, for example, 1.2345. Okay, it will give me an approximate answer of 23449 and up to some number of digits. So now, for example, I want to know what is the type of this function. It is decimal. I know it is decimal, but what is the type? Either it is integer or something, or it is decimal, because we have seen that it only Python by default provides integer, float and complex number as its type. So this one comes in decimal type. It will show me decimal dot decimal because we are using the decimal function of a decimal module. So now I'm sure that you understand that what by approximation of real number I mean. For most of the cases the error is insignificant and you can ignore the fact that calculation using digital computer running on binary number system especially have introduced some error. But for some cases this error is significant and we need to take proper measure to calculate this error and counter it. Moving further, the complex data type. The complex number are extensively used in scientific and engineering studies. The imaginary part of complex number has important information about the phase of the signal. Now Python enables the use of complex number by creating an object called complex. The imaginary part is signified by adding a symbol j. I know you know that what is a complex number, but still we have to go through this, which signifies the IOTA, that is, it is j indicates it is square root of -1. Consequently, you can define a complex number as 2 plus 3i as 2 plus 3j in Python, because Python by default use j as an imaginary part. Another way of defining a complex number is to use the built-in function complex. Now this function has two arguments. The first argument shows the real part of the number and the second argument is the complex part of a complex number. So when I'm trying to code it in this Python console, let me show you how it is done. So without clearing, if I'm writing 2 plus 3j by default, it will give me a complex number in bracket. For understanding that whether it is a number or complex number, I want to check its type, and it will show me a complex type. Similarly, if I want to know complex of this number complex, I will write 2 comma 3 with the first part indicates the real, the second part indicates the imaginary function, imaginary part, and then 2 plus 3j, the same output. In the similar manner, if I write type here, type, it will give me the complex type. So this is just information regarding how to use this code, how to use a code for running a complex number, how to see its data type. So again, moving further to the next section, is sequences. So I just sequences. Okay. So language symbols requires storage on a computer and hence must be defined as object. The object is known as character. The symbol means a computer doesn't understand which language you speak. Either it is some Korean language, Japanese language, or Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, whatever the language you are using, it considered it as a symbol and it stores it as an object, and this object is called a character. Every individual symbol of a language that appears on a computer screen or in a printed paper is considered as character in programming languages. This includes ASCII character and Unicode characters too. Example of characters which include letters, numerical digits, white spaces, and space, punctuation mark, exclamation mark, the raise to symbol, the carry on symbol, and so on. In general, all the keys which you are recently seeing on the keyboard and those which you are not seeing on the keyboard are characters. For the purpose of communicating between computing devices, characters are encoded in well-defined internationally accepted formats. Here we are, for English, we are using ASCII and UTF-8 format that assign each character to a string of binary numbers. Two examples of usually encoding are ASCII and UTF-8, which are mainly used in this in Windows system or in any computer system. All programming language must be able to decode and handle internationally accepted characters. Python also deals with characters using data type strings, lists, and tuples. So let's see what is strings. So strings is nothing but a sequence of character. We all know, but in case if I ask you what is string, so it is nothing but a sequence of characters. It has lowercase and uppercase of characters and have different encoding. Secondly, strings are case sensitive. So let's see some example here that how strings behave. Let me open the Python console. Let me clear the window. Now this I am writing a character A. It should show me some. So first of all, any string character must be written in comma or double inverted, single inverted comma or double inverted comma, and it will give me a str class type. In the similar way, if I write A, B, C, D, it will give me string type. If it is, as I mentioned, it should be in single inverted comma or double inverted comma. So instead of writing single inverted comma, if I have added a double inverted comma, it will also give me a class type string. So here we have defined a string of one of the 4 characters, so 1 and 4 characters respectively. It is important to resemble that white space is also a character. As such, I am writing hello world here. For example, in our first program, if I say I print it, and if I say, so these are the commands which I have used before, so you are showing this hello. Yes, I have to write space world. I have to close this parenthesis, otherwise it will show me an error. So hello world. Here the particular command has 14 characters, namely HELLO space WORLD exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. So while defining strings, we enclose the character with OR with single inverted comma or double inverted comma, as you can see here. So means as we have seen in the example. So when a string has to span multiple lines, the three sets of quotation marks are used. Let me show you an example in this, how to use the three sets of quotation mark. So I am going to use the print function, and let me say I have multiple lines. Let's finish this first. Which line, what will we write? This is the multiple line, so I'm going to write what sentence should I write? So I will write Python can also print multiple write strings which can span many lines instead of being printed in just one line, and comma close close close, and this enter. It will give me this output. So you can use special characters to print the characters, to define space, to print characters in new line. For example, /t and /n are used for a tab and a new line character respectively in this command also. For example, here if I want to add some multiple line strings, let me say here I want to add a tab /t and also prints instead of being printed, and I'm after printed I am going to /n and just one line and enter here at the end of this I'm going to write enter. So here I have got a tab, and from here this /n on just one line has been entered to the new line, or the next line. Notice that a tab has been printed with 4 white spaces at a place of /t, and the string after /n is printed on the new line. But why should we have 3 ways to define a string, namely using single quote, double quote and triple quotes? The question is quite annoying, but why we use 3 type of quotation mark in representation of string? So each and every one has a different features. See, the single line quotes can be used to print strings having double quotes as characters. So double quotes can be used to print single quotes as characters, and triple quotes can print multiple lines, both double and single quote characters and multiple lines. So let me show you how it works. For example, if you are working on this code, and if you have multiple when you are writing something in website or other way, you are want to add some string. Before it, let me just clear this command. Now I want to print what I will write. First of all, I will make a double inverted comma, and then let me add a single inverted comma, and I have to write this confusing statement. See, let's see it is working or not. So it's like Mahatma Gandhi's words. So the quote is good and this is online. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. This is a famous quote from Mr. Gandhi, Ms. Bapuji. And now here I have to close this double inverted comma and my single inverted comma, and this has to be closed. There is some typo error. Let's see how it is going to work. I'm sure it is going to generate an error. Let me write it again. For an eye makes the whole words blind, and here it is only coming again, and blind stands here, and it truly stands here today. So okay, a little bit is working or not. Again it is showing an error, an eye for an eye. So this will of course shows an error. Of course it will showing an error. Let me remove this portion and let me remove this portion for understanding purpose. While scanning string literal, the error is by scanning string literal, and there is an error in this here. We have a single inverted comma, we have a double inverted comma here, but this one has not been there. It should be completed. So as I have mentioned, the double inverted comma is used to type a single inverted comma. The word is in a single inverted comma. If there is a subheading Mahatma Gandhi's word, this must be removed. I want to show you this, or else it will show an error, as I have already shown you in this two parentheses lines about to comma. The next next slide, let's move to the next slide. And is lists and tuples. What do you mean by list and what do you mean by tuples? So list is an ordered set of objects irrespective of its data type. It can be defined by enclosing a set of values in square brackets. The square brackets, I mean, you can define a list using a square bracket. Let us show me an example here in the Python console. First we will clear this command window. What we will write here, for example 1, 2.0, now let me add a and a string. So let it be India here. So this will create a list. So when I write type, when I ask for Python about its type, it will give me the output as class list. The first element in a list in Python code is an integer here, which I have written is an integer. The second one is float, the third one is character, and the fourth one is a string. So you can also add multiple strings and that whole thing. Now when we talk about tuples, tuples are defined using parentheses, the curly means round bracket instead of a square brackets. For example, in the same example, if I remove the square bracket and now add this parenthesis, my output will be like this. And when I go for its type, what is the type of this? It will show me class tuple. In addition, we defined as the main difference between a list and a tuple is of course the sets of brackets, different sets of brackets. But the second thing is that between list and tuple is that one of this type is immutable list. You can also define the tuples as immutable list, The elements once defined in the tuple cannot be changed. Elements of a list can be altered later on in the system, but using their indices number. But elements defined in tuple cannot be changed. The later part about this indexing and changing of a tuple and list will be seen in the operators section, operators lecture. Now, moving further to the next slide, that is sets and frozen sets. What do you mean by sets and what do you mean by frozen sets? So the set data type is the implementation of a mathematical set. You can say an unordered collection of objects. Unlike sequential objects such as list and tuple, where elements are ordered, sets do not have such requirements. However, sets do not permit a duplicacy of the occurrence of element. Means you cannot repeat a number or a string 2 or more times. Means 1 1 1 1. For example, if I write hello, only one L will be there, another L will be rejected. That is depends on the occurrence of set. This is not the case with list and tuple. So whenever you have a question that what is the difference between a set and tuple and list, this is one of the difference. Let me show you an example. So in order to define set, we have to select set. For set is a function that is used to define set. So let me first clear the window first. Now let's define set. As I have already mentioned, set is defined in this format. I can mention a list within a set. As I have mentioned, let me write hello. HEL L comma. It's confusing, huh? Oh, hello. Now let me define an integer also. One floating point number, a complex number, and let me close the set here. I meant to say, sorry, set the function here, and let's see what is the output. Now it will give me an output in the sequential form, as I have already defined. How? The first one is the complex number, the second one is 1, that is the integer floating point number, and then comes EHLO. So it is not giving me a proper sequence. The sequence of occurrence has been changed. And the next thing which you have to notice here is the curly bracket which is used to define a set. It's similar to the mathematical operations which you perform. If you want to see the type, again, now let's see what is the type. Come as class type. Set. So if you want to define a frozen set is defined using the frozen set command. Instead of set, you have to write frozen set, and it will give me a frozen set. Now the major difference which is to be known to you is that the frozen set also have this particular word before its occurrence. So let me just say that one thing you have to notice while identifying set and frozen set is that the repetition of number or a digit or character is not possible. But when you are using the list or tuple, the repetition is possible. Just second thing that is to be noted is that tuple is an immutable object, immutable data type. In the similar manner, frozen set is also an immutable object. As the name suggests, it is frozen. You can't now change this set, and it is similar to a set object. So there is no repetition has been seen here. The details of each and everything will be discussed later in the other lectures which will go while doing this numerical computation. How are we going to add different type of sets and union and different functions which we perform. The next topic which we are going to discuss is mappings. Mappings is an important part, even though it is not very much defined earlier. But when I say a dictionary, it is a type of mapping. So let me define mapping. So mapping is a scheme of defining data where each element is identified with a key called hashtag. The element can be accessed by referring the key. So what is a key? What is a hashtag? Which will be referring to generation of dictionary. It would be discussed later in later lectures. One of the data type dictionary has been also been there in mapping. So these are unordered pairs of values associated with key, and these values can be accessed with key only instead of their index number. So if I want to know what is in the first line, in the second line, I will use the keywords and not the index number. Now this key has to be hashtagable, like integers, floating point numbers, string, tuples, and frozen sets. There has to be a hashtag. List, dictionary, and set other than frozen sets are not hashable. One of the a point that you have to remember, you have to consider it, that list, dictionary, and sets are and other frozen sets are not hashable. Okay. Once again, I am repeating this point. The keys have to be hashables. The keys are hashables. The other important list, dictionaries, and sets are not hashables. It is confusing, I know, but when we go through this examples, when we go through other examples, you can also understand it. So let me define the dictionary then. In order to define a dictionary, you have to use curly bracket. So first I will write a character A, hashtag 1. In the similar manner, I want another thing, B, colon. Well, let me write 10. Let me see what is the output. Now if I want to know what is its type, its type will be this. What is the type? It is a type dictionary. So here we have created a dictionary containing two characters, A and B, identified two keys, 1 and 10. A variety of operators can operate on dictionary, which we'll be covering in later lectures. The next important part of sequences is null objects. So null objects is nothing but none. So it is in other programming languages like C, Java, PHP, null objects are defined by keyword null, but in Python it is denoted by keyword none. It refers to non-functionality of an object which is not associated. When it is the issue at the Python prompt, nothing has been happened. So whenever you write none command, nothing happens. For example, A equal to none, so it will do nothing. That's the thing. If you want to know how it works, let us again go to the Python console and let me write here none, and I want to know its type. Let me know what is the type of none. It is none type. So that's simple. So let's end our session here. A summary of this, what we have done today in this lecture is that we have used the fact that all computing entities are merely objects that interact with each other as per their defined behavior. And this defined behavior is nothing but its built-in data type. So some data types are defined inside the modules. So user means by default integer, float, and that all, which we have discussed. And some data types are defined using external commands like decimals. The user can define the data type and define their properties. That are, you can define your properties as per your need. So before going this, in further in advanced topic, it is necessary to know how operators and various kind of data operates. So in our next lecture, in lecture number 3, we will discuss about operators, and till then I request you to go through each and every command which we have discussed today, and if there is any error or if there is any issue with your command, let me know and comment it. Feel free to contact me in the group. Till then, goodbye, have a nice day, happy learning.